Today's show addressed another aspect of the abortion issue not really understood by the general public, the Right to Life organization named Operation Rescue. Most folks construe Operation Rescue as strictly a sidewalk counseling group making a last-ditch effort in front of an abortion mill to persuade both teenage girls and women not to have an abortion. And yes, that is the lion's share of their effort, day in and day out, week in and week out, and year in and year out. Today's show examines some of Operation Rescue's other activities, bringing visibility, moral conscience, and shame to those siding with pro-abortionists in our society. Yes, it's uncomfortable for all involved to breach these life and death topics. However, America is a society built on free speech. Operation Rescue is resolute about what it believes in. Therefore, Operation Rescue is often, mainstream media refuses to cover Operation Rescue fairly, and if they cover Operation Rescue at all, therefore Operation Rescue is relegated to protesting on sidewalks by holding signs to give witness to their cause. Today, we will look at how Operation Rescue gives witness. I confidently believe you'll find today's show to be unique, informative, content-rich, truthful, and thought-provoking. Today's guest left his job as a software engineer in 1988 to work full-time in the Right to Life movement. He is perhaps best known as the president of Operation Rescue in Boston. This organization is dedicated to opposing abortion and bearing witness to the gospel of life. Our guest has been and is currently the target of pro-abortion organizations. During the course of our interview, perhaps he'll share a story or two of how pro-abortionists, and for that matter, the angry man on the street, try to impede the organization's life-saving efforts. Well, welcome, Mr. Bill Cotter.
Thank you, Brendan. Good to be here.
Nice to have you. Well, Bill, before we get into what we're going to do today, I'd just like to mention the call-in phone number. Should our guests have any questions, it's 617-973-4848. Bill, let me just ask first off, what is Operation Rescue and what does it stand for?
Well, Operation Rescue is a pro-life activist group, and we stand for giving testimony to the sanctity of life, particularly that life which is threatened in the womb, unborn children, through the crime of abortion. And our function is to bear witness to that sanctity of that life and to the gospel of life, as we say, which is that life is a gift from God and should be protected and preserved, and that our function is to therefore go into the public square and bear witness to that truth, and also to try to save lives of children threatened immediately, today, tomorrow, at the abortion centers of our nation, and in particular here in the Boston area.
Uh-huh. Well, now, I would like to mention that your website talks about picketing, and could you explain this activity and why your organization does this?
Well, picketing is something that's been a traditional type of means of communication by people who have, one grievance or another, if you will, and even our Constitution mentions the right to air grievances and so on, and redress grievances, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's a means of going out. It's kind of a low-tech, low-cost way of putting a message out in the public square, mm-hmm. and making that message known, perhaps bringing some discomfort, some embarrassment to those who are being targeted. And if nobody in particular is being targeted, for example, we might go out, say, on a street with just simply a generic pro-life message talking about the, say, the life in the child in the womb. So there's no particular protest target as such. It's simply there to convey information. Other times we go and picket particular politicians, hospitals that do abortions, abortionists themselves, and try to use the stigma which is still attached to abortion. The fact that abortion does kill a child, it's not something that anybody can be proud of, and to use that stigma against the abortionists to help them to get out for, noble motives or less than noble motives, to get out of the trade of killing children.
I see. I know that I was on a particular one out in Shrewsbury with you where the actual birth control was supposedly invented.
Right.
That was a more generic one. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, in fact, that anniversary is coming up again. The anniversary of the so-called the invention of the pill, which was at the Worcester Center for Foundation for Biological Research, I think it was called then. It's now part of UMass. And Dr. Rock, a Catholic who went from being a fervent Catholic to a fallen-away Catholic and apparently died an atheist, at least as a very fallen-away Catholic. He was the one who put the birth control pill through clinical trials with women that were under his supervision, along with Dr. Pincus, who was, I think, the inventor per se of the pill. And the reason why we had focused a day of commemoration out there, a day of prayer, is that abortion has become, contraception has become so ubiquitous, and even secular researchers now are really seeing the correlation between the prevalence of contraception and the unintended side effects, among which are abortion, aside from the fact that the pill itself can function as an abortifacient, and many of its offspring
A lot of people don't know that.
Precisely to do that, the morning after pill, the Depo-Provera, and so on. So it is all a linkage together because, as I said, it goes back to the idea that life is a gift from God, and God has given us a mechanism, an institution, the family, the human person, and that person and that family is meant to function within a certain design, if you will, and that things which sabotage or violate the design end up causing havoc and, what we call in theological terms, sin. And, so it stands to reason and empirical fact now that one of the outgrowths of that whole disorder is abortion, because when you excerpt, or if you will, rip away the whole marital function from the context of life and love and covenant commitment within a family, then and isolate it just to say it's temporary pleasure, then abortion functions as the insurance policy of that whole process. And so therefore one goes up with the other.
And we had Jim Sedlak on here a couple weeks ago, and he had mentioned that only 5 times out of 6 does a contraceptive work. There's a roughly 16 or 17% failure rate.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, now we have some photos that we brought today, and if we could get that first photo up, I would appreciate that. Here we have Michelle Thames, age 18, mother. This is where was this picket?
Well, that photo is from an ongoing demonstration we have going up in Methuen outside of the abortion clinic of Marcus Gordon, who's a doctor. And that sign you see there is, you see the contour of it is in the shape of a tombstone, because we have a whole set of such signs, and sometimes we do conduct things called tombstone pickets to remind people that abortion, though its apologists refer to it as safe and legal, is anything but, and that many women have died as a result of so-called safe and legal abortion. So these tombstone signs have been constructed with the names of people on them, names of women on them who have died at the hands of abortionists.
I see. Now, could we see the next slide, please? Now, is Marcus Gordon the one, he's up in Methuen, but he wasn't affiliated with that prior slide?
No. That's just there to put out the idea that abortion is something which not only kills the child, but at the very least damages the woman, and in many cases even kills the woman.
So Marcus Gordon.
So Marcus Gordon is the one whose clinic that demonstration is being held outside of. It's not saying that he was responsible for her, but nevertheless, he is an abortionist, so he's killing babies at the very least. Whether or not he's killed women too, we don't know. But often you don't know, because when women die of abortions, the cause of death is never listed as abortion. It's anesthetic failure, infection, some other ancillary cause.